What if I told you that a young woman who never left the convent, who never preached to crowds, and who died at just 24 years old became one of the most powerful and beloved saints in the world? You may think that becoming a saint requires doing great, visible, extraordinary things. But the story you are about to hear proves exactly the opposite. Stay until the end, because the spiritual secret of Saint Thérèse can completely transform the way you live your faith and your life. Saint Thérèse of the Child Jesus was born in 1873 in France with the name Thérèse Martin. From a very young age, her life was marked by a deep love for God and by an early experience of pain. She was only 4 years old when she lost her mother. This loss caused her soul to mature too soon. Thérèse became extremely sensitive, cried easily, and suffered deeply, yet she also carried a heart full of love. Her parents, who are now also recognized as saints, taught her something essential: love for God begins in the smallest things. At the age of 15, Thérèse made a decision that seemed impossible for someone so young. She desired to enter the Carmelite convent, a place of strict cloistered life. It was a calling that required courage, sacrifice, and total trust. This raises a question that echoes through generations: when God calls, do you trust, or do you retreat in fear? Even though she was young and physically fragile, Thérèse traveled to Rome to ask the Pope directly for permission to enter the convent. Imagine the scene: a small, unknown teenage girl standing before the most powerful man in the church. She had no status and no influence, but she had faith. Shortly afterward, her request was granted. Thérèse entered the Carmelite convent and received a new name, Thérèse of the Child Jesus and of the Holy Face. Many people imagine that life in a convent is peaceful, quiet, and serene, but the reality was very different. Saint Thérèse suffered deeply within the convent, often more than she ever had outside of it. She endured humiliations, misunderstandings, and painful silences. Some sisters treated her coldly, while others ignored her completely. It was within this hidden and ordinary life that her greatest spiritual teaching was born, known as the Little Way. Thérèse came to understand something truly revolutionary. We do not need to be spiritual giants to please God. We need to love in the small things. To smile when it hurts. To remain silent when we want to defend ourselves. To serve when no one is watching. Loving when everything is going well is easy, but loving when no one notices changes everything. There is another part of her story that few people know. Saint Thérèse also faced deep doubts and experienced intense spiritual darkness. At times, she felt far from God, even while living a life fully dedicated to Him. Yet she remained faithful. Her faith did not depend on feelings, but on trust. She continued to believe even when she felt nothing. At the age of 22, Thérèse became gravely ill with tuberculosis. Her suffering was intense, both physically and emotionally. Even so, she once said that she had never lived a single day without love. Before her death, she made a promise that would echo through time. She said that after her death, she would let fall from heaven a shower of roses. She did not promise punishment or judgment. She promised love, grace, and intercession. How could a young woman who lived a hidden life become a doctor of the Church? Why do so many testimonies of miracles continue to happen even today? The answer is simple and profound. God delights in simplicity lived with love. The story of Saint Thérèse reminds us that you do not need to be perfect, you do not need to be famous, and you do not need to be strong all the time. You only need to love, one step at a time. If today you feel small, invisible, or weak, remember this: God performs great miracles through the smallest souls.